Wanjo. Wanjo. Baete. Chalam Chamati. His Excellency, Dr. Olusegun Obasanjo, the former President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, a great sign, our icon, Deputy Minister, Ngosi Oromesa, Artilis Njaba, Ngosi Mandela, Matiba, Zulvelil, His Excellency General Kaunda, the High Commissioner of the Republic of Zambia, to the Republic of Malawi, His Excellency Ambassador George Zulu, the Ambassador Bridget Matsipe, the Right Reverend Dr. Kosnati Ndwandwe, our Bishop of the Diocese, and other religious leaders, representatives of Parliament, and our councillors and other dignitaries present. Members of the diplomatic corps, members of the royal family, Mr. Augustine Morris, and leaders of all parties present, distinguished guests, Sangalwez, Your Excellencies, what can one say in response to such an eloquent and thought-provoking lecture delivered by such an illustrious son of Africa? I can only thank Your Excellency, Dr. Obasanjo, for traveling to be with us today and for giving us the gift of your produced profound insight into the realities of our continent, both past and present. Above all, however, we appreciate your vision, sir, for the future. For it is the hope, more than anything else, that will sustain us in our pursuit of Africa's highest aspirations. In being the servant of us as people of Africa for so many decades, Your Excellency has hardly any peers amongst us. It is humbling indeed to have such an eminent and respected African leader accept the invitation to deliver this inaugural lecture. More so because the invitation did not come from me. I would have been very shy to approach His Excellency to speak about our friendship and about our work. I've done so. Deliberately, for the sake of liberty, democracy, and justice, and about so much that this great son of Africa has done to serve all the people of Africa. However, the board of the Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi Foundation invited His Excellency to speak and receive his kind confirmation before they have informed me of this wonderful news. Of course, I was delighted not only by the prospect of hearing His Excellency's wisdom, but by the opportunity to see him again. We were last in another's company at His Excellency's 82nd birthday in Ogun State in Nigeria in March 2019, when he invited me to deliver a lecture hosted by the Center for Human Security and Dialogue of the Olusegun Obasanjo President Library. The theme I was given to lecture, Your Majesty, was colonialism, apartheid, freedom, and South Africa rising. That was the topic. Even with a broad theme like that, I know how difficult it is to condense everything that could be said into the few things that must be said. I therefore applaud His Excellency for giving, again, as usual, his pearls of wisdom. What he said here today is exactly what needs to be said, what we need to hear in Africa. Let us take heed and consider how South Africa might benefit from the renewed perspective that we have been offered today. I've been tremendously blessed in these twilight years of my life to spend time with several of the great men and women with whom I engaged in the Africa's liberation struggle. In the very year that His Excellency Dr. Obasanjo invited me to Nigeria, I was invited by His Royal Highness Inkosi Yamamkhosi Mphezeni IV of Zambia to attend the 2019 Ngala traditional ceremony. During that visit, arrangements were made for me to meet again with His Excellency, former President Kenneth Kaunda in Lusaka. And looking back now, I thank the Almighty for His intervention, for not only would the COVID-19 pandemic shut down international travel just months after these trips, but there would certainly not have been another opportunity for me to see the late Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. President Kaunda is revered by all of us here for the risks and sacrifices that he and the people of Zambia made for our liberation. It is wonderful to know that we have now present today the son of the former president, the founding president of Zambia, President Kenneth Kaunda, His Excellency Ambassador Panji Kaunda, who is himself an ambassador or High Commissioner of Malawi, of Zambia in Malawi. 4 years ago, on my 90th birthday celebrations, Ambassador Kaunda brought a beautiful message of congratulations from his father. We are pleased to have him with us again, together with His Excellency, Ambassador George Zulu, who did so much to arrange my last meeting with my old friend, the first President of the Republic of Zambia. Those two visits to His Excellency, Dr. Obasanjo, and His Excellency Dr. Kaunda were a balm to my soul. After decades of enduring an intense campaign of verification, for accepting to lead the Israel KwaZulu government and for the founding of Inkatha, my pain was finally lifted by Dr. Kaunda's frank account of history on that occasion. He declared that the frontline states and the ANC mission exile through Mr. Tambo had agreed in 1974 that I should be asked to found a membership-based organization within South Africa to reignite political mobilization towards freedom. There was, they felt, no one better suited to the task, they said. They knew that I had accepted the leadership of KwaZulu on instructions of my leader and mentor, Nkosi Albert Mvumbi Lutuli, who together with Oliver Tambo urged me not to refuse, even though our movement, the African National Congress, rejected the homeland system. They believed that I could undermine the system of apartheid from within as part of a multi-strategy approach to our liberation struggle. That is the mission I'm proud to have accomplished, protecting not only the citizenship of black people in this province, but all black people in South Africa. I've got it. This Your Excellency, I always say, is the genius of my leader, Albert Luchuli. But that was his idea. President Kaunda and the frontline states knew that I was a loyal cadre of the movement, ready to take instructions from my leaders. And I did take instructions just as they anticipated. When I visited President Kaunda in 1974 to thank him for giving sanctuary to all our exiles, he spoke on behalf of the frontline states, advising me to found a liberation organization within our country so that the struggle could continue on our own and while it was waged from inside by the Pan-African National Congress. Upon my return to South Africa with Mr. Oliver Tambo's approval, I founded INCAD. Despite all that has been said against me, that is the measure of my loyalty. Even when gross propaganda was turned against me, when His Majesty, who happens to be my grandnephew, was speaking, it was difficult for me to hold back tears when I looked at the verification I've gone through. I remained loyal. My loyalty was to the cause of liberation through non-violent means. It was the cause that my uncle, Dr. Pixley Kaisara, laid the foundation of Africa's oldest liberation movement, the African National Congress, which my uncle founded. Sam laid the foundation of Africa's oldest liberation movement. It was the cause that Nkosi Luthuli and Bishop Alpheus Hamilton Zulu impressed upon me. And it was the cause that I followed, regardless of personal cost. It is truly a blessing at this stage of my life to recall the heads of state of Africa and throughout the world who warmly welcomed me during the liberation struggle because they knew my credentials and my commitment to the cause. Regardless of what I suffered because of unjust lies from within the movement, I grew up in the truth so that the truth could not be hidden from Africa's greatest leaders. When I consider the awards I've received and the friendships I've enjoyed, I'm reminded that truth always conquers at the end. It always emerges one way or another, and it cannot be suppressed forever. I want to thank Your Excellency, Dr. Obasanjo, for telling us the truth today. It is only when we work with facts and truth that we are able to overcome obstacles, to solve problems and achieve our full potential. And that is my hope, not only for South Africa, but for the whole of this continent. More than 100 years ago, Dr. Pixley Kaisara delivered a speech in London, which Your Excellency quoted, that had been studied and quoted by scholars and leaders again and again. It was entitled The Regeneration of Africa. In part, my uncle, Dr. Sema, said, "The brighter day is rising upon Africa. Already I seem to see chains dissolved, her desert plains with red harvest, her Abyssinia, and her Zululand, the seats of science and religion reflecting the glory of the rising sun from the spires of their churches and universities. Her Congo and her Gambia, whitened with commerce, her crowded cities, sending forth the harm of business, and all her sons employed in advancing the victories of peace, greater and more abiding than the spoils of war, unquote. I feel that Dr. Obasanjo's words today have picked up on that theme of Dr. Sam. They see a brighter day that will rise upon Africa. I'm humbled to know that we, Dr. Obasanjo, Dr. Kaunda and I, have done our part to push back this darkness and see that the sun rises again. I shall never forget, for whatever is left of my life, what His Excellency Dr. Obasanjo did for me in 1976. I was not going to go for the independence in Umtata in 1976. And yet, this great son of Africa sent 4 tickets for myself, for my wife Irene, for my secretary, and for Mr. Tula, so that I could speak at the Institute for International Affairs in Lagos. I shall never forget it. He arranged for me to be in Lagos on the very day of the so-called independence. In fact, that's when I had met him before that as one of the eminent persons. I've been honored by Dr. Obasanjo's lecture today, as all of us I'm sure are. And I'm honored by Dr. Kaunda's words in 2019. There's no way for me to repay them, but I would like to honor them. Ladies and gentlemen, in his speech, our guest of honor spoke about my great-grandfather, King Cetshwayo, who is the great-grandfather of our king. The king is sitting on his throne just now. This is very important. I think we must all listen. We must listen to that, because I think it's a very important thing. There's some serenity about it. Because King Cetshwayo was the father of King Dinuzulu. King Dinuzulu's eldest daughter, Princess Harriet, married the Pixley Sam, the founder of the oldest movement in Africa, the African National Congress. So I think that it's important for me to emphasize that. And because of that, I feel, Your Excellency, that because of this history, I've decided, when I visited the castle in Cape Town, where my great-grandfather, King Cetshwayo, was prisoned, they gave me a picture of King Cetshwayo on the day he left for London, where he wanted to see. So it's a very historic picture by Ake. I thought that I should give this to the President, because it rejoins our history. King Cetshwayo is the father of King Dinuzulu. King Dinuzulu is the father-in-law of Dr. Sema, the founder of the oldest movement in Africa, the African National Congress. It was the very day he was going to meet Queen Victoria. You know, I think this is our history has come together today. Thank you. Your Excellency, I've asked the Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi Foundation to have an annual award to be bestowed upon exceptional individuals whose life and work is dedicated to the advancement of humanity, peace, development, freedom, and democracy. There is no one better to receive it, Your Excellency, from the Foundation than yourself as our icon, and posthumously, His Excellency, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. I would like to say, Your Majesty, I've heard your commands to me as your servant concerning what you have instructed me to do today, and it shall be done according to your commands, Your Majesty. Before we present these awards, allow me in closing to express my deepest gratitude to the Honorable Mr. Velenkosini Chabisa and the full board of the Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi Foundation, not only for making this one wonderful occasion possible, but for accepting the enormous task of continuing my life's work even beyond my own time. And I think there'll be something remiss, Your Majesty, if I don't thank Nkosi Pathegile Holomisa and Nkosi Mandela for being present here today. I think that their presence has added a special luster to the whole occasion and also emphasized that we're one people. Yes, in this province we have one king, but as African people, we're one people. And their presence has emphasized that today. I believe that all my colleagues, my comrades, my former comrades in ANC, prominent, were invited to come